Welcome back everyone, it's me Matt, hope you're having a wonderful day. We are learning about Russian attack helicopters and what a beast this one is. Now Russia do not do things by halves when they design helicopters. We've all learned about the Mi-26 and some of the other helicopters including the Mi-24, which I have done on my channel, so if you want to go check out those videos, please go do so. And this helicopter is no exception to the rule that Russia really have gone all out to produce an attack helicopter, or gunship so much to say, that is just an absolute beast. And when I look at this helicopter, I kind of see it as like almost like an Apache had a baby with an Mi-24, and it's just combined into this Russian monster. I mean, it is a monster, and we're going to learn a little bit about it today. So, designed during the 1970s, the Mi-28 was there to replace the Mi-24 Hind as the main attack helicopter of the Red Army. The Mi-28 combat helicopter has been deployed by Mil Moscow Helicopter Plant and is known as the NATO codename of Havoc, not Hockham, which a lot of people can get confused with the Ka-52 Alligator that is also an amazing attack helicopter. In August 1996, Mil rolled out a prototype of the day and night capable version, the Mi-28N, or the Night Havoc. The first production of the Mi-28N took its first flight in April 2004 and began flight testing with the Russian Air Force in June 2005. The first 4 prototypes of this aircraft were made on its maiden flight of the 10th of November 1982. The third and fourth prototypes were completed to the Mi-28 Alpha standard with uprated engines exhausting via downward inclined diffusers. The fourth production standard prototype, also having a moving gyro-stabilized undernose electro-optical sensor turret and wingtip pods carrying electrical countermeasures and chaff dispensers, was produced. To meet a Russian Army requirement for the attack helicopter, the Mi-28 competed against the Ka-50. During the trials, the Mi-28 was reportedly defeated by the Ka-50. However, Mil received an order for a small batch of Mi-28 helicopters, most likely in order to prevent the manufacturer from actually going bankrupt. Changes in the military situation after the Cold War made specialized anti-tank helicopters a lot less useful. The advantages of the Mi-28N, like all-weather action ability, lower cost and similarity to the Mi-24, have become very important though in modern-day warfare. In 2003, the head of the Russian Air Forces stated that the Mi-28N and Ka-50 attack helicopters will become the standard Russian attack helicopters across the forces. Currently, a total of 24 improved Mi-28N attack helicopters are in service with the Russian Army. The type is being actively marketed for export customers also. Some sources report the Mi-28 is in service with Kenya. In 2013, Iraq ordered a batch of 10 Mi-28NE helicopters. A total of 19 helicopters were scheduled to be delivered to Iraq until 2016, where the order was actually cancelled. Algeria ordered 42 Mi-28NE gunships also. The helicopter design itself is based on a conventional pod and boom configuration with a tail rotor. The pilot and the navigation system officer are located and accommodated in 2 separate cockpits in tandem configuration under individual canopies, and by the way, the pictures of those pilots in this video were absolutely tragic. I don't know who made the graphics for that, but it's amazing. Armoured cockpits protect the crew against projectiles up to 20mm in caliber. The cockpit itself was designed very specifically to protect the crew, not only with the armament, but also to be able to somewhat parachute out the side of it. The pilots and the weapons operator cockpits are also operated to be isolated to decrease the probability of hitting crew members by one projectile. Basically, if the armor wasn't able to defeat the projectile coming through, it would not then ricochet or go through into the other compartment because they're completely separated from one another. The fuel tanks had a specific filler inside of them to take as much firepower as possible without exploding mid-air, and the aircraft also had energy-absorbing seats and a landing gear that protect the crew during a crash landing. The Mi-28 has a conventional helicopter gunship layout with the pilot in the rear and the gunner in the front, which is pretty standard for the most part for aircraft like this of the kind in the gunship world. Now, the interesting thing about the Havoc is the ability for the crew to actually bail out of the aircraft, and by the way, this animation here, it made me laugh. I could not stop laughing every time I watched it. The guy's bailing out of the side of it. But provision is made for a bailout in emergency at altitudes higher than 100 meters, which is, pretty impressive being able to actually push out of this thing in case things go wrong. The Mi-28 Alpha helicopter is powered by two TV3 117 VMA turboshaft engines fitted on either side of the fuselage. It is equipped with an auxiliary power unit for self-contained operation. The two engines drive a 5-blade main rotor and 4-blade tail rotor facing starboard, while generating 2,194 horsepower each. The Mi-28 is fitted with deflectors for dust and foreign objects forward of the air intakes, which are de-iced by engine bleed air. The internal fuel capacity is 1,720 litres, and provision for 4 external fuel tanks under the underwing pylons are also available. One of the more prominent features of this aircraft is its horsepower and the power plants it provides. Of course, the more modern and updated versions of the Mi-28 really do have some serious power under the wing. The helicopter itself and its transmission hasn't changed much, however the power plants driving them have. The aircraft can travel at roughly 265 kilometers at normal speed, and maximum speed is around 324 kilometers. It has a range of 435 kilometers and normally in combat around 200 kilometers, but with additional fuel tanks placed on the side, it can ferry up to around 1,105 kilometers. The max weight of this aircraft is 11,700 kilograms when fully loaded, and a normal standoff takeoff weight is around 7,890 kilograms. In terms of the aircraft's avionics, the initial production of the Mi-28 Alpha Havoc helicopters integrated usual communication systems such as UHF, VHF, nav and communication. There was also a small IFF fairing each side of the nose and the tail. The Mi-28's instrumentation comprises of conventional IFR instrumentation with auto-stabilization, auto-hover, and hover heading hold lock in attack mode. The pilot has a head-ups display and centrally mounted CRT for basic TV. The mission systems include radio and missile guidance in the nose radome, daylight optical weapons sight and laser rangefinder in a gyro-stabilized and double-glazed nose turret above the gun, which means it can take some rounds and keep going, which will rotate through 110 degrees plus. There's a wiper on the outer glass which protects the optically flat panel from any snow, which of course being in Russia is pretty prominent, and of course rain. Mi-28 Havoc's self-defense was ensured by 2 of the fixed IR sensors, which were fairly basic though. They were IR suppressors, and the radar and laser warning receivers were pretty standard. Optional countermeasures were actually placed on the pod of each wingtip, housing chaff and flare dispensers and potential sensors that increased its RWR. An integrated new generation avionics suite ensures round-the-clock all-weather combat employment of the Mi-28 helicopter, both in solo and formation air operations at enemy forward edges and tactical in-depth positions, with automated low-altitude terrain-following flight mode. The integrated system comprises with the weapon system's operator's stabilized surveillance system and the fire control station provided with optical, TV and thermal imaging channels. Of course, just like any modern attack helicopter or gunship around the world today, there is a lot of helmet-mounted integration for the co-pilot and pilot. The helmet-mounted target designation and display systems provide night vision goggles, a laser rangefinder, color liquid crystal displays, inertial, satellite and geophysical navigation systems. The Mi-28N also has an integrated VIBISC, DAAS, and Pastel RWR MAC IR warning system with a Playtan jammer and a UF-26 flare dispenser system already integrated into the aircraft. For weaponry, this aircraft is not messing around. Of course, just like any other gunship, it has its standard underbelly machine gun / autocannon. It is armed with a 30mm trainable cannon housed in a turret under the nose. The twin 150-round ammunition boxes are co-mounted to traverse, elevate and depress together with the gun. A total of 300 rounds of ammunition are carried for the main gun at 3 different cycle ratings of low, medium or high power speeds. This allows the gunner to not get a little too trigger happy when actually firing. The gun is identical to that of the Russian BMP-3 infantry fighting vehicle and uses the exact same ammunition. Each ammunition box can be loaded with different types of ammunition, including HE, armored piercing, and anti-personnel. This gunship can also carry 2 pods with 80mm unguided rockets with 16 anti-tank guided missiles. For anti-armor missions, the Mi-28 can be equipped with the Ataka-V or Victor anti-tank guided missiles. The Ataka missiles are radar guided and have a range of up to 8 to 10 kilometers and can penetrate 950mm of steel armor behind explosive reactive armor. The Sturm 5 missiles have a range of up to 7 kilometers and can penetrate up to 800mm of steel armor behind ERA. The Vickers laser-guided missiles have a range of up to 10 kilometers and can penetrate up to 1,000 millimeters of steel armor behind ERA. These missiles are capable of destroying most main battle tanks of today. The two pylons have quite a significant amount of carry that they can bring along into the battle. 16 Ataka-V anti-tank missiles can be placed with 40 S-8 rockets, or 16 Ataka anti-tank missiles with 10 S-13 rockets, 16 Ataka anti-tank missiles with 23mm GSH-23L gun pods with 250 rounds each, and a ton of other ordnance such as the 9K-118 Shenshka and the 9 Alpha 2002 anti-tank missiles, the 8 Igla 5 and Rimpel R-73 air-to-air missiles, and 2 KMG-2 mine dispensers, which basically allows it to be somewhat of a anti-tank weapon system from a standoff defensive position instead of actually going into an engagement, which is something I've never heard of before. I've never heard of helicopters laying mines, but these things could do it. For the most part, folks, this thing can put a lot of firepower downrange, and working in unison with other aircraft in its battle group, it can pretty much annihilate an entire tank battalion if it wanted to. The amount of anti-tank missiles placed on just one aircraft, 16 of them, similar to that of the Apache gunship with its own setup with Hellfire, pretty substantial. Now, I know there's a lot of talk about the Brimstone missile. I've even done a video in the past. You can go check that out. But of course, the Russians know how to make their anti-tank missiles too. And it seems as though the Havoc has really placed a lot of focus onto the integration with the pilot and the gunner on these weapon platforms and how they work to actually engage tanks from a long distance. We're talking about 8-10 kilometers. That's quite some distance there, folks. Of course, when you're firing anti-tank missiles from such a distance, you're reducing the capability of, anti-air trying to engage you back, which is really what they focused on here. They wanted a gunship that had, yes, a big cannon on the bottom of it, but the ideal for this aircraft for the Cold War was, for sure, to knock out as many tanks as possible before they got even close to engaging the rest of the battle group. And you can pretty much say that any other weapon system that's placed on there, even the smaller rockets and the cannon, are going to mop anything up that's left behind. As for the future of this aircraft, the Mi-28NM, or Night Hunter, is a modernized version of the Mi-28, which is still a staple Russian attack helicopter in its normal configuration. However, manufacturing of the Mi-28NM began in 2008. The latest prototype was prominently displayed at Russia's Army 2018 military exhibition, with great results. It is not difficult to see why the Russian Air Force would want to upgrade the aging TV3-117 VMA, which is the engine, to accommodate the Mi-28NM's new precision-guided weapon system and faster maximum speed. More engine provides more lift and bigger weapon systems that can be placed on there. Less apparent, though, is the reason for the recent jump to the VK2500 and the VK2500P. The VK2500, initially intended as an intermediate solution, was a lot more powerful than the 2500P that was in development. The manufacturer did discover somewhere along the line that it was way different of an engine and needed to meet the 28NM's design parameters. Transitioning to a more efficient Mi-28NM engine with a less frequent maintenance schedule and longer service life will almost certainly cut costs, especially if the Russian Air Force plans to use the VK2500P for other military helicopters as it continues to modernize its current roster. The main novelty of the Mi-28NM is the N025E radar, which was previously installed only on export models. The antenna receiving and transmitting part of the radar is located above the rotor of the helicopter, similar to that of the Apache Longbow. From the side, it looks like a ball. It has been given a special fairing made of a radio-permeable material. Such an arrangement of the radar gives a circular view and also allows you to receive a radar image of the terrain, hiding in uneven terrain behind artificial and natural obstacles while remaining invisible to the enemy and observing from the multiple optics and sensors it has. On the battlefield, the radar station can effectively operate from ambush and be the first to strike the unexpected blows towards the enemy. Once again, this technology is implemented into the helmets of the pilot and the gunner so they can focus on their respective jobs as best as they possibly can without distraction from other instrumentation or panels that allow them to operate the aircraft safely and effectively. Well, there you have it, folks, the Mi-28 Havoc. What a beautiful aircraft, what a beautiful gunship, and what a powerful little beast she is as well. The amount of firepower she can put down range is very similar to that of many other aircraft around the world, but what I kind of enjoy about this aircraft is the fact that they've pushed a lot of focus onto crew survivability with the, somewhat primitive but effective way of getting the crew out of the aircraft with the deployable, inflatable ramps to me, that's a bit of a testament to the fact that Russia really wants to provide security and safety to their pilots. They're the most crucial thing, really, here. The aircraft can be replaced, okay? That's not a big deal. But pilots, they're hard to come by, and they take a lot of training, a lot of involvement to operate something as high-tech and as sophisticated as something like this. And putting crew survivability is something that Russia really has been striving for quite some time. And a lot of people that have always spoke to me about, the Cold War doctrine and the Cold War tactics, and saying, oh yeah, all they used to do is throw thousands of potential tanks or helicopters or whatever else into the breach and expect them to just have huge casualties, and it wouldn't matter because they have 1,000 more to go. No. I'm sorry, no. Look, I see where you're coming from, but at the end of the day, when you see systems like this being put into place, they're not saying, let's send in 28 Mi-28s, they all die more, build 20 more, and train up 20 more and bring them back in again. That's not what they're going for here, and I think that's really impressive that they have that kind of system in place, and they're looking at protecting the crew members so heavily, with armored protection around the aircraft itself and the cockpit, with the individualized, pods. If you ever have some spare time, look at a show that's on Netflix about Apache gunships being engaged in the secondary invasion of Iraq, and how badly they got attacked from ground fire, and the Apaches were getting smoked, and I mean it in every sense of the word. Now the Apaches are somewhat armored, but they were getting absolutely hammered by small arms fire. It looks like the Havoc could probably take a bit of that beating and just keep on going, especially with the armored pod, and the capability of being actually to bail out of the aircraft if needs be, and the hard landing too. The landing gear on this aircraft have been given extreme amounts of reinforcement to say, if I've got to put this thing on the ground, I can put it down with a lot of weight, hard hitting, without damaging the crew. The crew seats themselves even have specialized suspension so that the aircraft does have to land hard on the ground, that it can provide support to those inside. That's impressive. I always look at, as I said before in the beginning of this video, as a bit of a hybrid, the Apache and the Mi-24. They just seem like they've come together and meshed as a one unity gunship. It looks awesome. But let's be very clear here. I would not want to be on the wrong end or the receiving end of these aircraft. They could do a lot of damage if needs be. I hope you enjoyed today's video, folks. Please feel free to leave me a comment and a like. If you want to be notified of any upcoming videos in the future, hit that little bell by the subscribe button so you can be notified of next time. There's also my Facebook, Twitter on the link box below. You can go check that out. And of course my Patreon page, which if you wish to support or donate towards there, I really would appreciate it. And thank you to everyone so much who has been doing that so far. I cannot thank you enough. And to all of you who have just stopped by to watch today's video, thank you also as well. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will catch you on the next one. All the best. Bye-bye.